That's one flower.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
This is one flower. It's the size of my head. You can see them from the street, which I love. The neighbors love to just say hi and say how beautiful they are, and I just so appreciate that. They get humongous. As you can see, one flower is like the size of my head. So I highly recommend these. These bees love these. They're native, which is amazing. So I have a whole hedge of them. I started out with just this little section. This was my Mother's Day gift from my husband one year. He dug this all out. This was all brush. When I first bought this property, it was all brush, overgrown. And so for Mother's Day, that's what I wanted. I wanted some hydrangeas, and he made this little peaceful spot for me. And then I said, let's dig out the whole rest of this and put more hydrangeas, because these were just so beautiful and I had to have more. And little by little, they just they spread, and you can propagate them, and they're just so wonderful. I can't say enough good things about them. And the fact that the bees just absolutely adore them. In the evening time, they just hum with life, and it's so joyful. How joyful are these? Oh gosh. Oh, and here's another tip with the Annabelles. If you cut just above just above a leaf set, this will flower again.
No way.
You don't want to hack it back, but if you go through and really strategically prune them, you'll get these little dainty, tiny Annabelles, and they're just so pretty.
How many hydrangeas do you have? How many?
I don't actually have a lot. I only have, believe it or not, I think there's 4 in that bed, 3 in this bed, 1 in this bed, and 2 in this bed. So it's really not a lot. These are about 6 years old, and they get actually even taller. These are floppy now because it rained and I never staked them up. These are actually really simple. These are probably the most simplest ones to take care of. I just, in the early spring, I cut them back. I not deadhead them up, but I prune them back to about 16 to 20 inches off the ground. They'll grow on new growth. And so they just kind of do their thing. And they just come out looking like this and even bigger. And then I will give them a drink of water when they look a little sad and wilted. But for the most part, because I have them in mostly shade, as you can see, they don't need a lot of care. They just need some water once in a while, especially they love a good soaking. They do tend to flop over, but that's why I have the boxwood hedge to kind of hold them up. I'm really, really lucky I don't have to fertilize them. They really have done so well for me. I don't know if it's the soil that they love, but if there's one hydrangea I recommend, it's definitely Annabelle's, because they are showstoppers and they require little to no care at all. And I love to cut them and bring them inside. I love to dry them and use them for decorations. In Christmas, look at this beautiful limey green color it turns. And then it'll dry like this, and then I can pop them in the Christmas tree. I can pop them in evergreen garland, and it just gives it like a nice natural touch. This Lysianthus, yeah, they're a really good cut flower, but I don't grow them from seed or anything like that. They're a little tough to do, so I always treat myself and buy them as plants at the garden nursery.
What is that beaut right there?
Oh, that is a passion flower, and as you can tell, the bees love it. It looks really alienish, I think, but it's so fun, and I love these little, I don't even know what you call it, right? It like dances, and it's a vine, so it just kind of creeps along and does its thing.
Wow.
And then
Where did you get it?
I got it at a nursery out in Patchogue called Fantastic Gardens, which is an amazing nursery. I love, one of the ones that I frequent.
Oh wow, those are beautiful.
This is Amaranthus. This is a volunteer. I bought seeds once, about 3 years ago, and I get these babies all over the place. She just happily self-seeds herself all over the place. Every nook and cranny, you can see them in there. She's so happy. She just spreads everywhere. Everywhere.
So if you don't like her, then
if you don't like her, do not plant her. But she's edible, I've been told, but I don't know how to you know, cook it or anything. I'm not a cook, I'm a gardener. But she's really beautiful and you can cut her and use her in arrangements.
How tall does she get?
She's
looks like
8, 9 feet, right?
she's
And no staking. I never have to stake her. Look at the thickness of her stem.
yeah.
She is incredible. So high winds, she does not move.
She's a showstopper.
She really is a showstopper. You can see her from the street,
Yeah.
which I love.
And one of your favorite flowers, dahlias?
One of my favorite flowers is dahlias. They're a little slow growing this year. I just started getting the blooms. So we have to be patient in gardening, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to protect them with the bags because the earwigs love these guys. So I just put the bag on when it's kind of closed like this. So I know there's no bugs in here. And then she grows in this bag, nice and protected, and I get these perfectly formed flowers with no pesticides.
Wow. Beautiful.
She's ready to be cut.
Oh, wow. She's pretty.
So pretty. I don't remember her name right now, but all dahlias have names and different shapes and forms and colors. They're native to Mexico, I believe. And I'm so glad they're here in the US.
How long have you been growing dahlias?
For about 3 years. It's an obsession at this point. It really is once you get started. Because there's so many varieties, there's so many colors, so many shapes, and I just love to tend to them. And actually the tubers are edible too, I understand.
You haven't tasted them yet.
No, I haven't.
Mary had a really cool secret to show us how to take care of the earwigs. And it has to do with a clay pot. It's so cool. Tell us about it.
It's such a clever little trick, and it reminds me of Beatrix Potter and Peter Rabbit and that whole aesthetic. So what I do is take just one of these kind of terracotta pots, wet this. This needs to be re-wet, but it's just a ball of newspaper. I plop it in here, hang this upside down like this, and the earwigs like to crawl up into kind of dark spaces. That's why they love dahlias. They like to get in the petals and in the nooks and crannies of the leaves. So this kind of mimics that environment, and so they get in here and I trap them, and then I kill them, again, without pesticides. So what I want to encourage people to do is not to clean their yards up in the fall. We have this sense that in the fall we have to make everything tidy, and we don't. And it's so much better for the environment, for ourselves, for the ladybugs and all the little critters that like to overwinter in the leaves. And you'll be rewarded in the spring and summertime with all of the beneficial bugs that come out and eat the bad bugs like aphids. Aphids are such a problem in the spring and summer. They'll go after the roses. And so this year I found a ton of ladybugs just voraciously eating all of the aphids on my roses. So that took care of my pest problem. So really, leaving the leaves is such an important part of gardening. If you can sort of let yourself just let nature do its thing, you'll be so much happier and rewarded. And you just look at all the flowers humming with life, and the bees and the birds. I've had so many songbirds nesting in my property because I have so many bugs that they want to eat, and they feed their young, which has been so rewarding to watch them nest and the babies fledge and just eat whatever they need to in my property and know that I didn't use anything harmful for them. Lamb's ear. Yeah, and what's great about lamb's ear is that when this finishes flowering, this is sort of done, it's kind of crispy. You can actually take this and cut it. See where this new growth is coming off of? You can cut it and it will sprout new flowers. Like this is a fairly new flower, which is absolutely amazing. You get new flowers. It's not as spectacular as the first set of flowers it gets in the springtime, but you can get flowers throughout the whole season.
Drought tolerant?
They're drought tolerant. They love neglect. And they spread and they're very happy. Absolutely my sanctuary. I have 3 young children, 3 boys, and they are a bunch of energy and I adore them. But sometimes mama needs a little alone time, so I come out here and I just lose myself in the beauty of the flowers, the scent, just watching all of the life hum around. It is just so joyful and so life-giving. Look how many bees are on that. and the little tiny micropollinators, they're called. I just found that out. Micropollinators. They're these teeny tiny little, I hope your camera picks it up. Isn't that amazing?
That right there,
yeah.
right? Oh, wow.
They're little tiny fly. I'm not sure what they are. So this has led me, looking at all this beautiful life on this plant, has led me to sort of taking a picture and popping it into Google and finding out what kind of bug is it? Is it a good bug? Is it a bad bug? What can this bug do for my garden? So now I'm interested in birds more, bugs, certainly bees, I absolutely love. The other day I had a monarch butterfly flying around and I nearly passed out because I haven't seen a monarch butterfly in quite some time. And I remember seeing them all throughout when I was a little girl. And so it was so beautiful and wonderful. I can't get enough of the bees. They just love them so much. And so they're kind of tricky to start, but once they start and they like your yard and they get established, they'll reseed themselves.
Mary's garden is going to be one of many gardens that I will be promoting and showcasing on my channel, showing you that you don't need a huge space. It starts with small wins and leads to big results. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, like this channel, and share it with your family and friends. Until next time, see you later, guys.
Bye.
Love it. I love it.